Namaste my dear students, very good morning to all of you. Today let us continue the discussion of transport of gases under breathing and respiration, breathing and exchange of gases. And out of this we started with the discussion of transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide in last few classes, and regarding with our transport of carbon dioxide, it is by three methods. So, we studied all the three methods in yesterday's class. So, today let us have one phenomena under which the carbon dioxide transport will be there as bicarbonate ion. So, for that I will going to write one schematic representation that is going to have the explanation regarding with our transport of carbon dioxide as bicarbonate ion. So, if you take the representation here, this is the representation of body cell, and here we can observe the blood vessels. This is the representation of blood vessel. Okay. This is the blood vessel, and here inside the blood vessel the plasma and RBC. This is the single representation of RBC. I will write all the things here first. Okay. RBC here, plasma, respiration, So, this is the body cell means individual cell of our body, where oxygen is going to be obtained through the RBC with the hemoglobin. So, RBC, this is the RBC, this is the RBC, biconcave disc shape RBC, which is present inside the blood vessel in the plasma. So, here we can make out the presence of plasma. Okay. Outside of RBC, entire coverage of the plasma will be there, and this is the boundary of blood vessel or capillary. Now, coming to the point here, oxygen is going to be entering to the cell under transport of oxygen, and that oxygen is going to be utilized for the purpose of respiration, that is cellular oxidation phenomena, result in the release of carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide about 70% is transported through bicarbonate ion. So, this is the representation for transport of carbon dioxide by bicarbonate form, okay, by bicarbonate form. So, carbon dioxide combines with the water content of RBC. I explained in yesterday's class, carbon dioxide combines with the water content of RBC in the presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme, result in the formation of H2CO3, that is called carbonic acid. That carbonic acid readily dissociate into H plus and HCO3 minus inside the RBC, and that H plus will combine with the HB to form HHB, and that will going to transport oxygen into the cell in the later stage. Now, coming to this one. So, HCO3 minus plus H plus agide alva. This HCO3 minus bicarbonate is going to be dissociate from RBC into the plasma. SCO3 minus ion ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ RBC ಇಂದ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾಕ್ಕೆ ಮೂವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಮೂವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, and simultaneously ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ HCO3 minus ion RBC ಇಂದ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾಕ್ಕೆ ಮೂವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಾ, how many number of SCO3 minus ion moves from RBC into plasma, simultaneously the same number of chloride ion will going to transport or going to move from plasma into RBC to maintain negative electrical balance. So, to maintain the equilibrium between the negative particle, negative charged particle, this SCO3 minus ion ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ Cl minus ion ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾದಿಂದ RBC ಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. This is called chloride shift mechanism. Chloride shift mechanism ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ? ಅಂದ್ರೇನು, ನಮಗಿಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾದಂಥ ವಿಷಯ ಏನಂದರೆ 70% ಆಫ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇಸ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆಸ್ bicarbonate. So, here water plus carbon dioxide in the presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme to form H2CO3. That H2CO3 dissociated into H plus and HCO3 minus. This HCO3 minus will move out of this RBC into plasma, and simultaneously same number of chloride ion Cl minus ion will move from plasma into RBC. This is what chloride shift mechanism or Hamburger's phenomena, Hamburger phenomena. Okay. So, this H plus will combine with the HB and going to form hemoglobinic acid, and this is the free hemoglobin now, isn't it? That will carry the oxygen once again. So, this carbon dioxide is going to be transported back to the lungs into the alveoli region in the form of HCO3 minus, and this RBC is free with the hemoglobin alva. Iga hemoglobin alli carbon dioxide illa. So, once again loading of hemoglobin with the oxygen will be there inside that RBC. RBC ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇರುವಂಥ ಹಿಮೋಗ್ಲೋಬಿನ್ಗೆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಲೋಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಲಂಗ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗಲ್ವಾ, ಲಂಗ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಆಲ್ವಿಯೋಲಲ್ಲಿ ಈ SCO3 ಮೈನಸ್ ಡಿಸೋಸಿಯೇಟ್ ಆದ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲೇನು RBCಯ ಒಳಗಿರುವ ಹಿಮೋಗ್ಲೋಬಿನ್ ಖಾಲಿಯಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಎಂಟಿ ಹಿಮೋಗ್ಲೋಬಿನ್ ಈಸ್ once again loaded with the oxygen. So that is the oxyhemoglobin formation, transport of oxygen, isn't it? So here once again oxygen is loaded and it is transported to the cell. Cell ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯುಟಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಸೆಲ್ಯುಲಾರ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸೆಲ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಡೌನ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ATP ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಎನರ್ಜಿ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ATP ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ ದೋಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಬೈ ಸೈಡ್. ಸೊ as a result carbon dioxide is released. That released carbon dioxide once again transported as bicarbonate at 70%. So first 10% is the carbonic acid, second one carbamino compound about 20% alva, remaining 30% it is remaining 70% it is in the form of carbonic bicarbonate ion, and the representation of that 70% of transport of carbon dioxide as bicarbonate ion is like this is the representation. ಇದು ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ ಹೀಗೆ ಬರೆದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮೆಟಿಕ್ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ನಾನು ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಷ್ಟೋಸ್ಕರ ಹೇಗಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಆಯಿತಾ. ಬ್ಲಡ್ ವೆಸಲ್, RBC, ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ process of transport of carbon dioxide as bicarbonate ion, and that will explain the chloride shift mechanism. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೇನು, SCO3 ಮೈನಸ್ ಅಯಾನ್ RBC ಇಂದ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಂಖ್ಯೆ HCO3 ಮೈನಸ್ ಅಯಾನ್ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯ ಕ್ಲೋರೈಡ್ ಮೈನಸ್ Cl ಮೈನಸ್ ಅಯಾನ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಟು ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ದ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಕಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್. Okay, that is what chloride shift mechanism or Hamburg's phenomena, my dear students. Okay. Now, so this is the transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide. ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಒನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುವ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್. ಅಲ್ಲೇನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್, ದೆನ್ ಬ್ರೀದಿಂಗ್ ಆಯಿತು, ವೆಂಟಿಲೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಂಗ್ಸ್, external respiration, transport of gases ಆಯಿತು. Now the fourth step, it is the internal respiration. So what is this internal respiration? It is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. ಹಾಗೆ ಬರೆಯುವ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್, ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ನಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ oxygen and carbon dioxide between the blood capillary and individual cell. It is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the blood capillary. Blood capillary is having RBC. So between the blood capillary and individual cell, that is the internal respiration. Here also the partial pressure of carbon dioxide and partial pressure of oxygen play an important role. So diffusion of this oxygen and carbon dioxide according to the partial pressure, according to the concentration gradient. So from higher concentration gradient to lower concentration gradient, we can observe the transport of this oxygen and carbon dioxide. So ಇದು ಹೇಗಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದ್ಸಗೆ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Here if you take a blood capillary, if it is the blood capillary, then it is the, if it is the cell, body cell, ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಸೆಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ ಆಯಿತಾ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ blood capillary. Blood capillary, individual finest network of blood vessel, that is the blood capillary. This is the cell, we can write it as body cell. Now coming to the point. So here the blood capillary will going to have the oxygen at the highest percentage, or concentration of oxygen is high. It is moving towards cell, and cell is having high percent of carbon dioxide after the respiration. So movement of carbon dioxide from cell to blood capillary. Now, there is a small gap. That gap is filled with the small gap which is filled with the lymph or interstitial or intercellular space, that is with the fluid. And here oxygen is going to be diffused from the blood capillary once to this gap and from there once again to the cell. ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬರೆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಹೇಗಾಗುವುದಂದರೆ, there is a gap between the blood capillary and the individual cell. That gap is filled with lymph. That gap is filled with lymph. Now, this lymph will going to help with respect to diffusion of that oxygen from blood capillary into cell. First from the blood capillary into the interstitial between the space between the blood capillary and cell, to that lymph area we can observe the diffusion. From there once again diffusion to the cell. Same condition in the case of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide move once to the region of this space and from the space into the cell. This is what the internal respiration. According to the partial pressure or according to the concentration, from higher concentration to lower concentration, the diffusion of the oxygen will be there from the blood capillary into the lymph and later into the cell, and simultaneously carbon dioxide into the lymph and later to the blood capillary. So, cell ಗೆ oxygen ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, carbon dioxide cell ಇಂದ blood capillary ಬರುತ್ತೆ according to the concentration gradient, but there is a small gap between the blood capillary and the cell. That gap is filled with the lymph. So, diffusion of the oxygen and carbon dioxide will be there initially to the lymph and later to the respective site. Blood capillary ಇಂದ lymphiಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಸೆಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ oxygen, carbon dioxide ಸೆಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಸೆಲ್ಲಿಂದ lymphiಗೆ ಬಂದು ನಂತರ blood capillary ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಲಿಂಫಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಲರಿಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಸೆಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಲಿಂಫಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಲರಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನಲ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್. ಓಕೆ, and last step, it is the cellular oxidation, the fifth one. Cellular oxidation refers to, in simple way, cell utilize oxygen and respire, result in release of carbon dioxide. So, cell will going to utilize the oxygen and cell will going to do the respiration, that is called cellular oxidation phenomena, result in the release of energy and the production of carbon dioxide. Release of energy andrenu, if you take example glucose, glucose will enter into the cell after the digestion through blood will transport that glucose into the cell, and cell is going to utilize that glucose as a source of energy. For the release of energy, it requires oxygen. So, release of energy from glucose, that requires oxygen, and oxygen is going to be given or delivered through this respiration, and cell is with oxygen and cellular oxidation will going to occur. So, here respiration will be there, and that respiration, it is called cellular oxidation, result in the release of carbon dioxide, and released carbon dioxide is taken back from the cell into the blood capillary and later to the lungs. So, that is a phenomenon. So, cellular oxidation is the last step of respiration, where utilization of oxygen, release of energy or production of energy, and it is in the form of ATP, it is going to be stored and the release of carbon dioxide will be there, that is called cellular oxidation phenomena. And here ATP is the energy currency molecule, adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is the energy currency molecule. So, ಇದಿಷ್ಟು ಏನು ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಆಫ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಆಯಿತು ಆಯಿತಾ. ಸೊ 5 ಮಾರ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಕೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೈನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬ್ರೀದಿಂಗ್, ಇನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್, ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್, ದೇರ್ ಪಾರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ. ಅಂದರೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್, ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ that is oxygen dissociation curve, what is chloride shift mechanism. ಸೊ ಆ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಬ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ diagram of respiratory system, that is important. And last few points now in this chapter, that is mechanism of control of breathing or regulation of respiration. Regulation of respiration. So, regulation of respiration means rate of respiration is, of course it is involuntary function, but some kind of regulatory mechanism is there in the case of respiration mechanism, respiration process in our body. So, which are the 3 different types of regulatory mechanism under respiration? The first one is the respiratory center in the medulla portion or region of brain, that is one thing. And second one, pneumotaxic center in the pons region of brain. And third one, chemosensitive region adjacent to rhythm center. These are the 3 portions. So, here respiratory center in the medulla region of brain, medulla oblongata, the portion of the brain will going to have the regulatory mechanism with respect to our respiration. So, respiratory center in the medulla region of the brain. So, medulla oblongata is the portion of brain that will going to regulate the rate of respiration in the autonomic nervous system form. So, autonomic nervous system, where sympathetic and parasympathetic will going to have the direct influence on involuntary organ like respiratory system, that is one thing. And pneumotaxic center in the pons region of brain, pons varoli, the lower portion of the hind brain. So, brain is divided into forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain alva, 3 portion ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. forebrain ಅಲ್ಲಿ cerebrum, cerebral hemispheres, ನಂತರ ಥಾಲಮಸ್, ಹೈಪೋಥಾಲಮಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಮಿಡ್ಬ್ರೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಏನು the regions for hearing and the regions for vision, optic chiasma will be there, and pituitary gland adala barutte, and diencephalon portion. Then the pons region, is the part of the hindbrain, cerebellum, pons varoli, and the extension of that one medulla oblongata ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಸ್ಪೈನಲ್ ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಅದು ಬ್ರೈನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಆಯಿತಾ. pneumotaxic center in the pons region of brain, this will going to regulate the mechanism of rate of respiration. And another one is very important thing, chemosensitive region adjacent to rhythm center in the brain. Chemosensitive region, chemosensitive refers to sensation with respect to or identification with respect to concentration of carbon dioxide versus oxygen. Carbon dioxide concentration ಅನ್ನು ಅದು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. So, carbon dioxide if it is high in the body fluid, that is not good to the human body. So, in that time or in that circumstance, we can observe the rate of respiration will going to increase. So, here chemosensitive area and receptors associated with aortic arc and carotid artery are highly sensitive to carbon dioxide and H plus concentration and send necessary signal to the rhythm center for remedial action by which these substances are eliminated. Means the entire sentence astadu, do not worry. The chemosensitive region will going to sense the concentration of H plus and carbon dioxide, and try to eliminate that unwanted carbon dioxide from the cell, that is through the signaling system. So, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಡಿ ಫ್ಲೂಯಿಡಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಸೆನ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದರ ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಅದು ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ, ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ಗಳು ಪಾಸ್ ಆದಾಗ ನೆಸೆಸರಿ ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ ಟು ದ ರಿದಮ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರೆಮಿಡಿಯಲ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್. ಸೊ, ರಿದಮ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬ್ರೈನಿನ ರಿದಮ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ ಸೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ವಿಲ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು increase or change. So, chemosensitive regions are very important, and aortic arc ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು aortic arc associated with the aortic arc and carotid artery are highly sensitive to carbon dioxide concentration. So, ಅದು ಹೈ ಸೆನ್ಸಿಟಿವಿಟಿ ನೇಚರನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸ್ತದೆ ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ, ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ಗೆ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, H plus ion ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, aortic arc and carotid arteries associated with the chemosensitive receptors will going to send the signal into the rhythm center, and as a result of that rate of respiration will going to increase, and as a result we can observe elimination of carbon dioxide in more faster way. So, that is needed for our body. So, this is what regulation of respiration in the case of human body. And the last one, it is the respiratory disorder. ಇದು ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಕೇಳಿ ಇದು 3 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಆಯ್ತು, ಆಯ್ತಾ. And last the concept is the respiratory disorder. So, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 3 respiratory disorder ಹೇಳಿಕೊಂಡು, respiratory disorders. The first one is the asthma. It is the bronchial asthma. And second one, it is emphysema. Third one, occupational respiratory disorder. ಇದೆಷ್ಟು 3 ಬರುತ್ತೆ. So, what is this asthma or bronchial asthma? It is more prevalent to the children, young aged people and very old aged people. ಸೊ, ಸಣ್ಣ ಮಕ್ಕಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಕಂಡು ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಬ್ರಾಂಕಿಯಲ್ ಅಸ್ತಮಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಸ್ತಮಾ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಕೇಳಿರ್ಬೋದು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ಪ್ರಿವಲೆಂಟ್ ಟು ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್ ಇನ್ ಅಡಲ್ಟ್. ಇನ್ಫ್ಲಮೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಕೈ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಕಿಯೋಲ್ಸ್ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟಿ ಇನ್ ಬ್ರೀದಿಂಗ್. ಇನ್ಫ್ಲಮೇಷನ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್, ಸುಲಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀದಿದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಟು ಬ್ರಾಂಕೈ ಆರ್ bronchiole result in difficulty in breathing. ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟಿ ಇನ್ ಬ್ರೀದಿಂಗ್, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಬ್ರೀದ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಬ್ರಾಂಕೈ ಮತ್ತು ಬ್ರಾಂಕಿಯೋಲ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲಮೇಷನ್ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟಿ ಇನ್ ಬ್ರೀದಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಮೇನ್ ಸಿಂಪ್ಟಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಬ್ಲಾಕೇಜ್ ಇನ್ ದ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಟರಿ ಪ್ಯಾಸೇಜ್, exaggerated production of mucus and clogging or blockage in the respiratory passage. Then chest pain will be there or thoracic cage pain will be there and wheezing sound will be there. So ಅವರು ಉಸಿರಾಟ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂಥ ಸೌಂಡ್ ಒಂದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ವೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಸೌಂಡ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ that is observed in the case of asthma. Difficulty in breathing, chest pain, thoracic pain will be there, inflammation to the bronchi or bronchioles and blockage of the air passage, mucus secretion will going to increase. So result in the total problem in the case of or difficulties in the case of breathing. And shortness of breath, mild or shortness of breath, sometime a light increase of body temperature may be there. So that is the asthma. And second one is the emphysema. It is a chronic disorder in which alveolar wall get damaged. It is a chronic disorder where alveoli wall get damaged. So ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ ಆಗೋದು ಆಲ್ವಿಯೋಲೈ ವಾಲ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಆಲ್ವಿಯೋಲೈ ವಾಲ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದು ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ವಿಯೋಲೈ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ದ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಟರಿ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್. ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಟರಿ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಅಂತ ಸಾಕು, ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಟರಿ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಹಾಗೆ ಬರೀ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಟರಿ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಬ್ಲಡ್ ವೆಸಲ್ ಮತ್ತು ಆಲ್ವೇನ್ ನಡುವೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಈ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದು ಹಾಳಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಒನ್ಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಕ್ವಾಮಸ್ ಎಪಿಥೀಲಿಯಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಆಲ್ವಿಯೋಲೈ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ಡ್, ಇಟ್ ವೋಂಟ್ ರೀಫಾರ್ಮ್. ಸೊ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಹಾಳಾದಂತಹ ಆಲ್ವಿಯೋಲೈ ವಾಲ್ ಒನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೈನ್ ಹೊಸದು ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ನ್ಯೂ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅದಷ್ಟು ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಕ್ರೋನಿಕ್ ಡಿಸಾರ್ಡರ್. Alveolar wall get damaged and replacement of damaged alveoli is not going to be there. So permanent damage to the respiratory surface. So reduction in the surface area for exchange of gaseous material. So that will going to lead with the lot of problem in the case of that person. So it is the emphysema and the prolonged respiratory surface decrease or prolonged ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಟೈಮ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತದೆ, ಏನು ಒಂದು ದಿವಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ acute, it is not sudden, it is a chronic, it is a long process and gradual decrease of alveolar wall will be there. So it is mainly because of cigarette smoking. Smoking is injurious to health ಅಂತ ಸಿಗರೇಟ್ ಪ್ಯಾಕಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಕಾಷನ್ಸ್ ಬರೆದಿರ್ತದೆ ಏನು, ಸ್ಮೋಕಿಂಗ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಂಜೂರಿಯಸ್ ಟು ಹೆಲ್ತ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿಸ್? ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಎಂಫೈಸಿಮಾ. ಲಂಗ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಸ್ ಲಂಗ್ ವಿಲ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ that alveoli wall is damaged, that light pinkish color alveoli will become complete black. So the lungs will become complete blackish nature in the end. So that is because of this emphysema, lungs cancer. Then third one is the occupational respiratory disorder. So here long exposure to the industrial wastes, long exposure to the industrial wastes. ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ವೇಸ್ಟಿಗೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಟರಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋಸ್ ಆದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಯೂಮ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಡಸ್ಟ್ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಸಿಲಿಕಾ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ, ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಮೆಟಲ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ಗಳು ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಹೆವಿ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ some kind of unwanted gaseous very danger, very poisonous items. So, continuous exposure of our lungs or that person who is working in that area will going to have the continuous exposure to that kind of industrial wastes. So, result in the occupational respiratory disorder. So, formation of leading to the fibrosis, hage baribodu, leading to the fibrosis. So, fibrosis anta formation agutte, that is formation of fibrous tissue in the case of lungs, formation of fibrous tissue in the space of in the space, not place, in the space which is occupied by the alveoli is going to be covered by this fibrous tissue. So, total expansion of alveoli is not there, difficulty in breathing. So, workers will going to have serious lung disease or damage, permanent damage. And how to overcome? Workers should wear protective mask during the work. So, protective mask annu ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. So, they have to cover their face, especially the air passage, nostril, nose, etc. and mouth by using the mask what we are wearing today due to corona, isn't it? ಕೊರೋನಾದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೇನು ಕೋವಿಡ್-19 ಗೆ ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ಧರಿಸ್ತೇವೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಅವರು ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಕೂಡ ಆ ವರ್ಕ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವಾಗ ಅವರು ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ they can prevent the entry of that particle or exposure of their respiratory system to that unwanted industrial wastes. So, they can overcome the occupational respiratory disorder. So, this is what our total respiration in general. So, human respiration or breathing and exchange of gases. So, if you have any doubt you can ask in the oncoming days or through WhatsApp. Okay. I think you are having my number, isn't it? Yeah, and in the interaction section. Okay. So, thank you my dear students, I will going to wind up this one here. Okay, thank you.